Hi class, so today we're going to keep working on our unit on urbanization. On Tuesday you were introduced to the idea of urbanization and what it means. So just to clarify, urbanization is the movement of people from more rural areas like farmland or villages, places where there's a lot of distance between homes and between people, from those areas to more populated places, let's say like cities. So it's which we also call urban areas. So it's the movement from the rural to the urban, from the countryside to the city. This movement is what we call urbanization. So in order to understand urbanization and how it affects cities and populations of people, we first need to understand population. And so we're going to be going through that in our slideshow today. And then after that, you're going to have a short little exercise about population in cities. So the first thing we need to understand is population. So, population is the number of people living in a designated geographical area. So, this means that we pick a certain area and then we count the number of people inside it. The number of people inside the area that we specified is the population of that area. So, you can find the population of a city, a neighborhood, a country, the world, a continent. Population is just determined by the number of people in a specific area. We also need to understand population density and land area and what those things mean and how population might be different from population density. So population density is the number of people per square unit area. So that means usually we say the number of people who live per square kilometer or per square mile. So land area would be the total surface area of land in the place that we are counting the population of. So, for example, if we're going back and we're trying to find the population of a city, let's look at maybe what the population density of a city would be. So we can do that using this Paris example here. So according to the City of Paris's Wikipedia page, and the City of Paris is the city center of Paris, there is an area of 105 kilometers squared. So that is the land area, the total surface area of land in the city of Paris, land where people can live. That is the land area of Paris, okay? But their total population was about 2.2 million people. So about 2.2 million people living in 105 kilometers squared. So in order to calculate that population density, which we're not going to have to do, so don't worry, is you divide that population by the area, and then you have this number here, which gives us the density, okay? The density of people living in that city. So the population density of the city of Paris is 20,169 people per square kilometer. So this means that in each square kilometer of Paris, approximately 20,000 people live in each one. This doesn't mean that exactly 20,000 people live in each square. It just means that approximately that many people live in each square, because this is the total land area of the city of Paris and the total population of the city of Paris. So on average, this is how densely the people are living together, how close together they're living. So population density lets us know how tightly packed an area of land is with people, okay? So population density, so the population density of the city of Paris, we take the population and we divide it by the land area squared. So here it's 105 kilometers squared, and then we get the density. And so density, just to remember, is the thickness. The population density is the thickness of people, or how closely packed they are together inside a city or an area of land. Okay? Now moving on to trying to understand what cities are, there's something called settlement hierarchy, and this is a concept that we're going to learn more about next week, but I'm just going to introduce you to it now. Just think about settlement hierarchy is a way of organizing and classifying types of settlements of people, okay? So as we talk about cities and villages and where people live, we have to come up with specific words for specific types of living situations. So this hierarchy and these type of names that we have help us to better understand populations of people and where they live, okay? Because it would be really kind of hard to understand if all we ever talked about were numbers, right? And these words like village or city, these words help us to better understand these sizes and these types of settlements where people live without having to just yell numbers all the time. So let's learn a little bit more about cities specifically. Okay, and remember, we'll get back to all of this stuff later. We'll break down what exactly is a village or a larger town and what these things are and what they mean. But now we're just going to focus on cities, okay? So in general, a city has a population between 100,000 and 1 million people, in general. When we say city, it can mean anything between 100,000 and 1 million people. A large city is usually between 300,000 and 1 million people. So a large city is between 300,000 and 1 million. And a small city is more than 100, but less than 300,000. So more than 100,000, but less than 300,000. So if we're looking here, which of these cities are large cities and which are small cities? So if we're looking at Athens, it has about 664,000 people. So that's going to be here, a large city. If we're looking at Podgorica, it has about 185,000 people. Where does that fall? That falls here. It's a small city. If we're looking at Ljubljana, Slovenia, it has about 280,000 people. That's going to be also a small city. If we're looking at Bologna, Italy, that's got 390,000 people. That's going to be a large city, okay? But how big can cities be? Because we know that there are cities that have more than just 1 million people. This is when we get into bigger words like a metropolis and a megalopolis. So a metropolis is a city that has a population between 1 million and 3 million people. These usually consist of large cities like Athens, for example, and then the suburbs, which means all the smaller cities around it, okay? But suburbs are generally residential areas, so generally where people live, so they might have more apartment buildings or homes as opposed to shopping centers and businesses, right? So a metropolis is a big city that's between 1 million and 3 million people. Then after that, we have a term called a conurbation. This isn't a super important term, so don't worry about it, but it's just a city that has a population of between 3 and 10 million people, and it's usually a group of metropolises, okay? And then the other big important one I want you to know is megalopolis. We can also call this a megacity, but I like the way megalopolis sounds. So a megalopolis has a population of more than 10 million people, and so these will usually be groups of what we have, these conurbations, so groups of metropolises. So the two important ones we need to know are metropolis, so between 1 and 3 million people, and a megalopolis, which is what we call a group of more than 10 million people. These are the really important ones. And know that a metropolis is just a big city with its suburbs. A conurbation is a group of those metropolises. And a megalopolis is a group of conurbations, which is a group of metropolises. So all of these cities feed into each other. Okay, and they form these big things called metropolises and megalopolises. So an example of a metropolis would be the city of Denver in the United States. In its metropolitan area, which means so here's the city of Denver, and this is the Denver metropolitan area, which are all the suburbs. These other towns like Westminster and Lakewood, these are mainly where people live. They don't have big skylines in cities like downtown Denver does. This is here, downtown Denver, the city center of Denver. And then all around it, I don't know if you can see, there are all these other buildings and stuff, but those are mainly places where people live. So that's a suburb. But this metropolitan area, Denver's metropolitan area, and the metropolis of Denver has 2.9 million people. So it's a pretty big metropolis. If we're looking at megalopolises, we're talking about big groups of metropolises, right? So we have, this is a really big megalopolis in the Northeast United States that has over 50 million people, and it includes the cities of Boston, New York, Philadelphia, all of those form this megalopolis, and there's a satellite view at night of it. So moving on to today's assignment, what you're going to be doing is using this document here to explore these ideas that we've just gone over. So if the first thing you're going to do is use this map here to find the population density of each of these 3 cities. So I have 3 cities here. You'll find their population density, and you're going to use the map key to help you do this. You're going to write the population density next to each city and then answer the question below. So you'll find these 3 cities in this map here. So if I click this link, it'll take me to this map. And in this map, you can zoom in and look at a city. And then, so here we're looking at Berlin. And up here I can see that the population density of Berlin is about 7,500 to 9,500 people per square kilometer. I can see that here. So what you'll do is you'll find those other 3 cities on this map, and you'll use this key up here to find the population density per square kilometer, okay? And those numbers are all up here, so just look at the colors, match the colors, and find the one that best fits that city, okay? Once you finish that, you'll answer this question: which of those cities has the highest population density, so the most people living per square kilometer? After that, you're going to look at the populations of these cities here that I've written and label them as either small cities, large cities, metropolises, or megalopolises. So look at here, look at the number, and then you can look back at our, look at the number of the population in these cities, and then you can look back at our slideshow to see which are these. Are these large cities, small cities, metropolises, or megalopolises? So you'll write that here. Once you finish all those things, you'll turn in this document, and that's your assignment for the day. Please email me or comment with any questions, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye!